Welcome to RAIN, the Real Estate Investor Growth Network with your hostess, Jen Josie. Join like-minded real estate investors and accelerate your business towards greatness. You will hear step-by-step strategies for success, interviews with real estate rock stars, and we will dig deep into past projects where we bear it all, including the good, the bad, and some just plain ugly. So get excited. Here's the bestower of badassery herself, the real Jen Josie. Listener discretion is advised.
Hi, and welcome back. I'm Jen Josie, creator of RAIN, the Real Estate Investor Growth Network. Whoop, whoop. On today's episode, we have a guest that will be sharing their badassery. But before we begin, here is today's badassery bestowment, my little badass gift to you. A very important aspect of your business is finding the right bank for your business accounts. I have found it much easier to go with a small local bank, for there's a lot more flexibility. When you work with these smaller local banks, you can develop better relationships because you are dealing with the same folks every time. Because they are familiar with your finances and want to build their base of local clients, you have a greater potential to be approved for business loans, better rates on refinancing, etc. So go out there and support the little guy, for they will provide you big rewards. Now, on to today's episode of the Real Estate Investor Growth Network podcast. We have with us a total badass, Cheryl O'Hearn. Cheryl has been a coach and entrepreneur for 10 years. She has worked with thousands of real estate investing clients across the country. Last year, she expanded her coaching business to include, you ready for this? Mindset and performance. Her specialty is breakthrough coaching, helping entrepreneurs to overcome obstacles, gain clarity, and bring purpose and fulfillment to their lives. On the entrepreneurial side of her business, Cheryl and her family invest in real estate. The business includes her husband and 2 super cute sons. They work together full-time, completing rehab projects, new construction, rental properties, and commercial multifamily properties. Leveraging this experience, Cheryl also owns a kitchen remodeling business. It is my honor to welcome this total badass, the real Mama O, my friend, Cheryl O'Hearn.
Woo! Man, thanks, Jen. That was one heck of an introduction. Hey, everyone. I'm so glad to be here. And thank you, RAIN, for having me. Thank you,
Yes.
Jen. This is awesome.
You know, I didn't even want to start this podcast because we were having such a great conversation beforehand, because you are such a great coach. So thank you for that 20-minute coaching session right before this call. So
my pleasure.
Yes. So I want to hear a little bit about the family business, because the first time I ever saw you, you were on stage for the education program I did, which is called Fortune Builders. You're on stage, just probably about 5,000 people were in the room with your family, and you were talking and just sharing your successes. So tell us a little bit about this family business. When did it start? All that fun stuff.
Yeah, thanks. So I look back, I'll just say this. I look back and sometimes go, what was I thinking? However, you know what? It's been a fabulous experience. It's been growth and learning. Actually, my oldest son called us up and said, hey, I attended this event, and you and Dad should go tomorrow, and let's go start a business, and I want to work with you. And so, needless to say, that's how we got our start in real estate. And our youngest son was still in high school at the time and just didn't really have a lot of interest. And then the more projects we got going on and doing and we're having fun in the business, he was like, hey, wait a minute. I want to come join the business. He convinced one of his professors to allow him to do a summer internship with the family business.
That is awesome. That is.
Well,
what year was that? What year was that?
What year?
Yeah.
That would have been about 2014, 2015, maybe, somewhere in there. And so, so we started on this adventure, a couple of things. I mean, for the first almost year, I was still working full time. and we were trying to start this business. We didn't know a ton about it. However, we knew some of the we didn't know a ton about starting a business. The things that we knew we needed to do, like be productive, work as a team, communicate with each other, took on a whole new meaning. When you have the family, not only a family dynamic, like spouse, right? Husband, wife, well, then you add the parent child on top of it. And I think when we first started out, my husband and I were very much like, no, we're the parents and this is the way it is, right? And then we had to learn to listen to the kids. We had to learn that they might have some good ideas, or they might bring, some different perspective to the business. So it's been a good growth experience from that perspective as well. Today, we are just jiving and gelling, and things are a whole lot better. It's been a great journey. Here we are.
And you're in Colorado?
We are in Colorado.
All four of you?
All four of us,
Gotcha.
Yes.
And then you transitioned from corporate America. So tell me a little bit. I don't know anything about your corporate America history. So tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah. So I spent my career. So when I graduated from college, I was recruited and went right to work for IBM. Just like boom, into the corporate world. And yes, this was during the time where women did not wear pants to work. We only wore skirts, and the men only wore white shirts. I mean, it was really,
wow.
Like if a guy showed up with a blue shirt on, the joke was, did you not get your dry cleaning done? Or, what's happening? I mean, really, it was that bad. So, or that strict, I don't know. Anyway, but that was my first experience into corporate America. And I stayed, I was there for a lot of years. I always stayed in IT. I was always in the male dominated IT industry. I took a few years off to be home with the kids, a couple years, and realized at that point in time that I was truly a workaholic and I did not sit still well. So I went back to work.
Wow.
I mean, I didn't do the stay-at-home thing well. And actually that's been a curse and a blessing. I still love to learn, love the growth, the challenge, all those kinds of things. However, I really got tired of the drudgery of the 9 to 5 or 8 to 5, as it were. And on top of that, the last job I had before I fully retired, I was driving about an hour each way. I mean, I had one heck of a commute, and I was just like, I can't do this anymore. The job was not challenging anymore. We were starting our real estate business, and I really needed the growth and the change. So I left there. We started this, and I remember feeling like, oh my God, I'm on vacation. I have all this time. I kind of work, don't have to work. And then I realized, oh, if I want to get paid, I have to work.
That's so funny you say that, because I had the same reaction when I was working for Aetna at the time, and I said I quit, and I said I'm throwing out my alarm clock, and people are like, "You're going to need to get it back and wake up 2 extra hours earlier," and I did not realize how real that was, and it was a true struggle in the beginning. I created an accountability group, which saved my ass. So
yes,
so important that you said that.
Yep. So we all learn, we start looking for those pieces, right? Where can we go, and how can we kind of get that structure back? No one's telling you what time you have to go to work. No one's telling you what your goals are. You have to figure all that out. Early on, this was fabulous. And finally we were like, we got to stop. We had a contractor, one guy who 7 a.m. every morning, the phone was ringing or texts were going about what was going to happen on the projects that day. And we had another contractor. We had enough projects going. We had the other contractor who was a night owl. So we'd be on the phone till 8 or 9 o'clock with him at night. I was like, now, wait a minute, who's in charge here? Right. So that's when we started to realize this was our business. We get to make the rules, take it all back. People will adjust and listen to us. Right. And we started stepping into that power, if you will, of really owning the business and setting the tone for what we wanted to accomplish. And to your point, accountability or whatnot. Now for us, this is where the family dynamic got really interesting. We said, well, we're gonna, how do we hold each other accountable without pointing fingers? So we're gonna do a weekly meeting, and we're going to have an agenda. We're going to take notes, and then we're going to check on everybody's progress the following week, as good business owners should. However, most of the meetings turned into some sort of shouting match, or parents versus kids, or somebody was getting their feelings hurt, or whatever was happening. We have some strong personalities in my family as well.
I'm shocked.
I know, right? And so, so you get all that flying around. It was like, whoa. So finally I said, well, I know I've raised my children better than this, and we are going to make this work. So we moved our meetings to Starbucks. My kids, I'm like, they're not going to yell and scream in Starbucks, and we established productive meetings.
I love this.
Yeah. So after a while, we were able to bring the meetings back home because everybody got tired of going to Starbucks, which was fine, except we still had to be productive and the rules, still had to happen. So that kind of began our, I don't want to say struggle, but our foray into, we got to be better communicators. We got to figure this out. And we also, from a communications perspective, it was roles and responsibilities. And one contractor would say, well, I told your wife this and tell my husband something else. And so we've worked through every bit of those pieces. Both of our boys have had encounters with the contractors going, really basically thinking they don't know what they're talking about because they're so young. And so that was an interesting growth piece as well.
I love that. And I think the weekly meeting is so important. Vance and I, we own the business together. And, even though we share a toothbrush holder, we have to, schedule time. And we literally sometimes we just complete a spreadsheet together. But one thing in addition to this that we added that has been really helpful is we do a, what do I even call it? The bonus, we brag about each other. And, so it's just a little, I'm sorry, it's a Bravo boost. I couldn't, my brain. So we do a Bravo boost and we say something nice about the other person. So it's just like, oh, really? You thought that? How sweet. So we end on a positive note. But I do like the Starbucks thing because several of the listeners work with family members. So that is excellent advice. So thank you for sharing that. And I want to get into the nitty gritty here because you have inspired me. I am actually going to get my practitioner training in NLP. So I want to get into this whole mindset thing. And I have heard you say that you are 100% certain the success of your business starts with mindset. So explain that. How do we get rid of this old programming that is just bogging us down?
Yeah, that's a fabulous question.
That was loaded, wasn't it?
It was very loaded.
And go.
Where do I begin? The thing as I transitioned from the corporate world into being an entrepreneur, it took me a while to realize what was happening is I had all that old thinking from a corporate perspective and structure, trying to bring it into an entrepreneurial startup business. And just even that bit of programming doesn't fully transition over. It took me a lot of years to realize that I had a mindset problem. Of course, it was easy to blame everybody else. I had to look at myself and say, listen, there is stuff in my way, baggage that I've accumulated from my family, from incidents or, experiences in my life that really had transitioned over. I grew up in an extremely negative household, and I didn't realize how negative it was until you get older and you get out into the world and you go, these people, everybody's having fun. Like there's a world out here, I love my parents. It's simply, my dad was just very much that way. And so I had to really reprogram myself and start thinking, but it wasn't as easy as just, I'm going to be positive today. I'm going to be positive today. So through my coaching, I discovered NLP, and I'd always wanted to learn more. NLP, Neuro-Linguistic Programming, the mind. In our mind, we've got our conscious and our unconscious portions of our mind, not that we're multiple personalities, not like that, but we all have a conscious and an unconscious. And some people relate to your unconscious mind as listening to your gut or your intuition, right? And so If we're not in tune to the gut or the intuition and really our unconscious mind, that means our conscious mind is overruling or second guessing ourselves. So that's the neuro portion of neuro-linguistic. Linguistic, then, the language that we use. We learn this language from, our family and from our communities, like if the church we belong to, or places we've worked, friends, wherever we're just soaking this up, we're bringing all that language influence in. And again, for me, it was very negative coming in, and to reprogram, that was a big deal. And then there's our programming, which is the internal programming. So when we're first born and brought up, if you will, as we're raised, our families instill and the certain values that the families all had, right? And it's things like how we think and feel about other people or certain situations. I like to use the example kind of Hatfields and McCoys, that gets passed on from generation to generation. And all of a sudden somebody goes, why are we even fighting? Like, what is happening here, right? And so that stuff is just part of who we are. It's below the surface. It manifests out in our actions and then our results. And so if that programming, everything that's below the surface is not free from these obstacles, then we're just going to carry the baggage along. I had one client who had totally decided, and she had been convinced that being second best was as good as she was ever going to be.
Wow.
Like, that's what she had achieved. Second best was perfect, right? And it's like, why do you let yourself off this way? Well, somebody or a series of events throughout her life had convinced her of that. I had another client whose brother would always pick up the phone and say, hey, loser, how you doing? Right? Now,
Wow.
Can you imagine like your internal, your unconscious thinking to that? And so she came to me and we worked through a breakthrough session, and she was like, oh my God, she's like, I'm afraid to put myself out there. I know I can do more, but I'm so afraid to do it. That voice, that loser was over and over in her mind.
And, and you're saying so many things that are just clicking for me, because I am on the journey to work on these type of things and, change my programming. And it's just, I have found that when you start uncovering like all that negativity, it just becomes so obvious when you are speaking to, say, a family member or to a friend. And, I don't have the same friends I did 5 years ago. And it's just, and I see it's because of that, because I don't want to keep hearing the negativity, or people who, for example, I have a friend who's stuck in the past. Like, everything was so wonderful, the childhood and all, and it's just like, well, I'm thinking about tomorrow. I'm looking forward. And so it's just, I've had to move past that. So I think when you start working on it, you also have to kind of figure out who you need to stay away from too, right?
Yes. And some people are like, well, wait a minute, you're shedding people from your life. That's really a good thing. As you just said, like, surround yourself with the people who believe in you as entrepreneurs and business owners, right? It's the family that says, I don't think you can do it. Like, go prove it to me and then I'll believe you.
Right.
I had a young couple a couple weeks ago. I worked with the husband and then the wife. The baggage, these kids were in their young 30s, and the immense pressure from their families, the baggage they were carrying, I was like, holy moly. And after our session together, the release was just, they were lighter and just feeling like, wait a minute, I'm not here to please them. This is for me. This is what I want to do.
So talk a little bit about the difference between the conscious mind and the unconscious mind. I know, like, the example for unconscious is like if you drive the same way to work every day, and then on Saturday you're driving and you automatically make the turn like you're going to, and you're like, what am I doing?
What am I doing?
So that's like your unconscious mind. But tell a little bit more at a deeper level, like what the difference is between those two.
Yeah, great question. So our unconscious mind really is our feeler, our emotions. The unconscious mind keeps a chronology of everything that has happened in your life, to you, for you, you've experienced from birth. And every one of us, from birth to around age 7. So we call those the imprint years, right?
Right.
And so any little thing or any major thing, unfortunately, that because obviously stuff happens to people, but when things happen during that imprint period, it really, really impacts our ability to move forward later in life. And so what happens in the unconscious mind is when those things form, when something happens, some event, somebody's mean to you, you get beat up, or there's a bullying incident, and I'm being a little extreme there, but something even like a playground kind of thing, right? Or a parent gets too much in the way of a little kid and does a SWAT, or maybe takes it a little further, right? Those negative events start forming boulders in our unconscious mind, in our neuro pathways. And so over time, kind of like a snowball rolling down the hill, right? If you've ever done that, and the snowball gets bigger and bigger as it gets down the hill, right? So same kind of concept. So here we are later in life, 40s, 50s, 60s, and all of a sudden, these things are huge. And in today's world, so many people are shifting careers. They're retiring earlier. They're being laid off. They just really want to change a second career, right? And all of a sudden, we carry all that baggage with us. And how do we turn the corner to be productive in the, in that second career with the baggage still in tow? So that's what our unconscious mind does. Now, our conscious mind is our logical thinker. And so when the unconscious mind knows something, so if you need to remember something and you're consciously forgetting, unconscious mind, what was the answer? Oh yeah, it was that. Listen to the first thing that comes up. That's you listening, because your unconscious mind knows. There's a lot that gets installed in our unconscious mind along the way. And so if the conscious mind, though, gets too loud and overtakes or overrules, that's when the second guessing and all those other kinds of thought processes come to fruition.
And they can be buried deep too, right?
Oh, yes, they can. They can be buried very, very deep. And they also, there's a meta health connection, right? Between those negative emotions. I mean, just the neurology, they're way down deep in the pathways. And when we go through a breakthrough and release that, well, everything's got to reorganize. And literally health, our health can improve by relieving and releasing all those negative pieces.
So what are some techniques that we can use to release some of these obstacles?
Yeah, great question. So the technique that I use, a couple of techniques actually, one is called timeline therapy, and I won't go too deep into it, but timeline therapy allows us to view our timeline. We all have a past and a future, and whether we're consciously aware of it or not, if we can get high enough from an unconscious perspective to view the timeline, we can view the event to get the learnings from the event. And our unconscious mind says, oh, okay, now I can release that. There was a learning there. This is great. Let's move on. Release that negative thought. I do dabble. I say dabble. I don't do it a lot. And I'm not trying to scare people away, but I do some hypnosis.
I love hypnosis. I'm a big believer in hypnosis.
Are you? Great. I love to use hypnosis to install positive learnings. And so it's a great way to overcome other negativity, right? And like on a scale of 1 to 10, like somebody who's hypnotized at a 9 or a 10 is like the people you see on stage, right? In some
right.
Vegas show or whatever. This hypnosis is at like a level 1 or 2, and you are fully in control, and we can get out of it. It's just such a useful technique, though, for installing positive learnings, positive reinforcements.
I can remember I was hypnotized to quit smoking 1,000 years ago, and one of the things is it acute? I'm not even sure what it is. where she's like, every time you see the color red, it's going to be like a trigger to reinforce not wanting a cigarette. And I remember driving home and the brake lights in front of me, and I was like, oh my gosh, I was just blinded by these brake lights. And then I look over to my right and there's a Chinese restaurant with red light up signs. So I was like, I must have Chinese food right now, so it was just crazy. But I love that because it is so beneficial, and I'm excited. I'm going to be learning about this timeline therapy and the hypnosis and stuff. And that I owe to you. So thank you for introducing me to that. So
yes, my pleasure.
All right. So a big question here. What is the number one thing that holds everyone back from creating a successful business? I know you work with entrepreneurs, and what is it? What holds everybody back?
At the root of it, it's fear. It's fear. Whether it's our own fear implanted or installed in us by other people, right? The real root is just plain old fear. I work with clients and they go, well, I went so far and I just can't go any farther. And I say, describe for me what this thing is, what this obstacle is. And we work through it to get rid of it. Fear is such a powerful thing that has such an impact, and to release it and be free from it, the impact of living without fear is enormous. I mean, consider it, right? If you just spent a day just kind of cataloging, oh, I didn't do that because I was afraid, or I second guessed there, or we do it to ourselves all the time.
I mean, one thing that I fear is upsetting like a potential client, for example. If I'm, I've had calls where someone's like, stop sending me your effing postcards. I'm like, and I'm like, I've upset someone from a colorful postcard with a picture of my dog on it. I mean, come on now. So yeah.
Right. However, if you took that a little further, did that cause you to go, ooh, maybe I should rethink sending these out?
I was totally double guessing everything, second guessing everything. And yeah, absolutely. So I did have some fear in that. That's, I'm a people pleaser, and I always want to, make people happy. And, there's some parts of the business that you're not going to make people happy, That's right. And especially, no offense to women, because I've lived it, right? Especially as women, I think we're much more prone to being people pleasers. Yes.
Right. We're so afraid of what people are going to talk about us or say about us if we're not pleasing everyone. Well, the time for that is over. Like, we're done.
Love it.
We have to put ourselves and our business at the top of the list, get rid of the fear, get rid of the stuff, and be who we're supposed to be.
And this is from a woman who works with 3 men.
Yes.
You can do it.
You can do it.
So I love all this, and I could talk for hours and hours and hours. But I want to know, do you have a badassery bestowment that you can share with the listeners?
I love this question. And it took me a little while. It took me a little while to kind of get to what's a really fun thing here, right? Listen, through this mindset coaching and the clients that I've worked with, the fascinating thing that I have learned to really read is the signals the unconscious mind is giving us. So I had a client who I was working with. We were releasing negative emotions, and we call that an empowerment session. So it was a mini session instead of a full breakthrough. Just that's how much time we had. No biggie. Anyway, at the end of the session, we knew that we hadn't quite released everything. And he got this just really thick, bloody nose. I mean, just like on cue. And I'm like, wow. Okay. So I looked it up in my Meta Health book. Yeah. The unconscious mind was sending the signal that this client was still dealing with self-devaluation and conflict, which was why we started on the session. And the unconscious mind was like, hello, not quite done here yet. You need to do work a little bit more.
Wow.
Is that not fascinating? I mean, I've had clients do sign language. And listen, I don't know anything about sign language, but when you're making hand motions and your unconscious mind is trying to communicate, I've learned, I get over there and I'm Googling and I'm going, oh, that's what they're trying to tell me, because the conscious mind is just too loud sometimes. It won't let the unconscious mind come through. So that's my badassery. That's been
I love it.
Fun, because there's so much more.
I'm going to turn the camera off every time I talk to you from now on, just because I don't want, in fear of getting a bloody nose or something. Wow, that is amazing. So the second half of the podcast is I like to find out what makes you a badass, and I use the acronym BADASS. So the first one is B, book. What is a book that has made a huge difference in your life?
I had to kind of think about that, because I love to read books. I don't always get to them, as often as I'd like. However, the book that really set me on a different path was Rich Dad, Poor Dad.
Yep. That's, the Purple Bible. Everybody loves it.
That's it.
Yeah.
Yep. Rethinking. I mean, just all of a sudden it's a whole new world. I didn't grow up in an education system. And of course we don't really have one today. And we could really talk about all the things that our kids aren't being taught, right? The basic premise of that book is just such fascinating thinking and education. You go, whoa, all right, I got to learn more. So
it was so funny to me because my friend Maylani kept talking about this book, and I was like, but I'm not a parent. Like, I thought it was about parenting, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. I was like, I'm not a parent. I won't connect with this book. Yeah, huge difference. Agree. All right, the first A in badass is advice. What's the best piece of advice you have ever received?
I had a boss, this was, a lot of years ago, but I had a boss that said, you know what, we may not know exactly what we're going to do, but we're going to do something. And I kind of had to think about it. And today, it's really stuck with me. And especially now, being a business owner, running my own business, it's like, look, if I'm going to stand still, I'm in trouble. I may not know exactly what to do. So now my thinking is, what's the next right step? I've got to be moving forward, do something, and then we'll figure it out.
I love it. That's great advice. All right. The D in badass is drive. Girl, you are the epitome of successful. And I got to break here for a second, because I first met you. I don't even know if you remember that. Well, I've only met you in person one time, and we were at a Thrive event. Thrive, Make Money Matter. It's by Cole Hatter runs it. He's wonderful. And I was at Dunkin' Donuts, and you were walking by. I was like, celebrity alert. And so I was like, hi, I'm Jen Josie. I'm a big fan. But your drive and what you have done in the short time and all of this. So I want to know, what drives you to be successful?
I think at the end of the day, it's really.
Do you remember that, by the way? Do you remember Dunkin' Donuts?
Now that you said that, I do. I had forgotten where we had met the first time. And I do remember that. This is really, when people start to recognize you, I'm like, just give me a little hint where we first met. Like, right. Listen, my memory isn't what it used to be. Let me just say that.
All right. So what drives you to be successful? Let's hear this.
I think, you know what? I just don't sit still well.
Yeah.
I don't sit still. I'm now that I've been through my own breakthrough, and I've got all this new energy. Listen, I'm going to keep growing and learning and just doing me and keep going. I don't know. I just don't sit still well. I don't think it's anymore. I don't think it's anything more magic than that.
I love that. I love it. All right. The second A in badass is aspiration. And I know, since you don't sit still, you like to keep going, you keep taking that next step. So what is a current goal you're working on?
The goal that I'm working on is building out my successful coaching business on the mindset side. I've been coaching real estate for a lot of years, and it's kind of a new challenge. And again, from a growth perspective, I'm loving every minute of it, learning new skills. I'm learning stuff on social media that I didn't really care to learn.
It's the devil, that social media.
A little bit, but I used to joke to people, I'd be working with clients or students that, it's their second career, and they're going, I don't know how to do this social media stuff. And I'd say, why do you think I went into business with my kids? Like
Smart.
That's their thing, right? Anyway, just I'm going to figure it out. You know, I might be a little late to the game, but I'm going to figure it all out. And then the next thing is really scaling my business, all of our businesses. This is propelling me and us into a new realm of growth in our businesses, and it's really exciting.
That is awesome. And just for the listeners, Cheryl and I coach together for Homeschooled by Tarek. And if you know of this handsome devil, Tarek El Moussa from Flipper Flop. I have had the pleasure of working with you and I learn from you all the time. So you all see why I spent 20 minutes to start this episode, because I had to get some Cheryl time. So, all right, we talked about the business meetings that you have, your weekly meetings. So what are the first S, is systems. What are some other systems you have in place to help you achieve success?
Yeah, great question. So on our real estate side, we've put all kinds of systems in place for analyzing properties, for and making our offers, to all of our back office filing and keeping things organized. And thank goodness we have a fabulous office assistant, office manager. She just handles all of that for us. So the more we put the systems in place, the more productive the rest of us can be. For me personally, if it's not on my calendar, it doesn't happen. So my calendar is my Bible. I swear to God.
Yep. All right. And the final S is success. What does success mean to you?
You know, there's some layers to this. I had to kind of think about this question a little bit. Some layers as far as, you know, listen, everybody, the standard response is, you know, enough money and freedom of time, freedom of money, those kinds of things. And for me, because I don't sit still real well, it will be working just a few hours a day, like having my perfect day and a full calendar. So getting up in the morning, getting my workout in, getting my coffee, you know, a leisurely breakfast, then I'll work for a few hours, and then I'm going to maybe go to dinner and network, or just go to dinner and enjoy and relax, and take a few more vacations. So
I love it. I love it. And for someone who spent, you know, several years in corporate America, I mean, you look like a young bumpkin on the screen right here. And so I feel like you have gone back in time and just have, you know, recreated yourself. And I can see that just oozing from you. And I am, again, so honored to call you friend. So thank you for joining us on this podcast. And how do the listeners find you? Because I know we have sparked a lot of interest and they want to learn much, much more how to get rid of that old programming and to release those huge obstacles in the unconscious level. So do you do any one-on-one coaching, or how would people be able to get in touch with you?
Yes. So of course I'm on social media. My Instagram, therealmama.o.
The Mama O.
Mama O is in the house. Facebook, Cheryl O'Hearn. And my email is cheryl@clarityelevated.com.
Is that your business for the coaching?
That's my coaching business.
Okay.
Clarity Elevated.
And so they can go there and, you know, get in touch with you and set up a session and all that fun stuff?
Yes. So, and you know what? I'll give you the link if anybody wants to set up a discovery call. It's a complimentary discovery call. If they want to get on my calendar, we'll spend 20 minutes just kind of diving in to see if this kind of coaching is a fit, and we'll go from there.
Did I already have my discovery call, or can I get another?
You can totally get another one.
Well, Cheryl, thank you so much. You're the best. And that is all. Thank you for listening. We will catch you on the next episode. Now go out there and share your badassery. And don't forget, make it a great day. Take care. Bye-bye. Whoop, whoop.
Thank you for listening to RAIN, the Real Estate Investor Growth Network. Be sure to subscribe on your favorite podcasting platform so you never miss an episode. If you need more badassery, you can follow Jen Josie by visiting therealjenjosie.com or become a member of RAIN by registering on rainmastermind.com.